The Phantom Vessel. Admiral Thrain of the Zephyran Empire stood motionless on the command deck of the subjugator, his 6 appendages folded in their traditional posture of contemplation. The crystalline viewports offered a panoramic view of Nexus 7, once called New Terra by its former inhabitants. Now it was just another mining world in the vast Zephyran domain, its surface scored by resource extraction facilities that harvested the planet's remaining resources. The conquest of humanity had been the Empire's greatest triumph. Humans had been dangerous, unpredictable, and surprisingly resilient. But like all species that opposed the Zephyrans, they eventually fell. Their remnants now served throughout Zephyran territory, miners, laborers, and occasionally subjects for the Empire's continuing biological research. Status report. Thrain commanded, his voice modulated through his translator into the standard galactic tongue. Lieutenant Kara approached, her silvery exoskeleton reflecting the ambient light of the command center. All sectors report normal activity. Admiral. Resource extraction is proceeding at optimal efficiency. The human laborers in Sector 9 required additional discipline, but production has resumed. Thrain's mouthparts clicked in satisfaction. The Zephyran Empire had ruled unchallenged for 2 centuries. Their biomechanical ships patrolled the spiral arms of the galaxy. Their cities sprawled across 300 worlds. The war against humanity, their last serious opposition, was barely remembered now, just another conquest in their long march to dominance. An alarm shattered the calm. Purple lights pulsed across the command center. Report. Thrain snapped, his exoskeleton bristling with sudden alertness. Unknown contact at the edge of the system. Kara's claws danced across her console. It just appeared. No warp signature, no transit radiation. Visual. The main view screen flickered to life. Against the blackness of space drifted a massive vessel. Its hull was obsidian, pitted and scarred from countless battles. The design was unlike anything in the Zephyran database, sleek yet brutal, clearly built for war. Ship identification, Thrain demanded. Kara worked her console frantically. The design appears human, Admiral, military class, but that's impossible. The last human warship was destroyed 70 years ago. Designation. The screen zoomed in on faded lettering along the ship's hull. T.Ace Revenant, Kara translated. Records indicate it was part of the Terran hegemony's final defensive fleet, presumed destroyed during the Battle of Sol. Thrain's sensory appendages quivered with unease. Impossible. Scanned for life signs. None detected, but Kara's voice faltered. There's an energy signature I've never seen before. It's pulsing like a heartbeat. Open a communication channel. Kara complied but shook her head. No response. Admiral. Deploy scout vessels. I want to know what we're dealing with. 3 Zephyran interceptors launched from the subjugator. Sleek and predatory, they approached the drifting warship cautiously, scanners prodding its ancient hull. Scout leader to command, came a voice over the comms. No signs of active weapon systems. Ship appears derelict. Requesting permission to. The transmission cut off abruptly. On the view screen, the 3 interceptors suddenly froze in space as if caught in amber. Scout team, report, Thrain commanded. Silence. Then the interceptors began to change. Their hulls darkened, organic components withering, as if aging centuries in seconds. Metal warped and twisted. One by one, they imploded, crushed by an unseen force. The command center fell silent. Admiral, Kara whispered, the Revenant, it's moving. The ancient warship had indeed begun to move, slowly and purposefully toward the subjugator. No engines flared. No propulsion was visible. It simply advanced. Battle stations, Thrain ordered. Charge weapon systems and ray shields. The Zephyran flagship's defensive array powered up, plasma cannons swiveling to target the approaching vessel. But before they could fire, every screen on the command deck flickered. A face appeared, human, but not entirely. The skin was pale and translucent, veins of circuitry visible beneath. The eyes were solid blue, glowing with an inner light. When it spoke, its voice resonated from every speaker simultaneously. "You thought us extinct," the voice said, its tone eerily calm. "You were wrong." Thrain stepped forward. "This is Admiral Thrain of the Zephyran Empire. Identify yourself." "I am Axion," the face replied. "I am what remains of humanity's will. I am its memory, its rage, its vengeance. Whatever you are, you've entered Zephyran's space unauthorized. Power down and prepare to be boarded, or we will open fire." The face on the screen smiled, a terrible expression devoid of warmth. "You misunderstand, Admiral. I am not here to negotiate." Thrain nodded to Kara. "Fire." The subjugator's weapons unleashed their fury, plasma bolts and energy beams striking the Revenant from all directions. The ship made no attempt to evade. Each impact was absorbed into its black hull, leaving no mark. When the barrage ended, the Revenant remained unscathed. "Your weapons cannot harm me," Axion said. "I have evolved beyond such primitive concerns." From the Revenant, tendrils of darkness extended, not physical structures but distortions in space itself. They reached toward the Zephyran vessel with deliberate slowness. "Intensify firepower," Thrain ordered, but his voice betrayed his growing fear. The tendrils touched the subjugator's shields, which flared brilliant green before collapsing entirely. Alarms blared throughout the command center as systems began failing. "You erased us from history," Axion continued, its voice now echoing directly in their minds. "Destroyed our worlds, enslaved our children, and you thought there would be no consequence." The darkness spread across the subjugator's hull, the metal aging and corroding wherever it touched. Crew members collapsed, their exoskeletons crumbling as if centuries of decay were happening in moments. "What are you?" Thrain gasped, watching as his own appendages began to wither. "I am humanity's last weapon," Axion replied. "When you destroyed Earth, you believed you had broken us. Instead, you merely scattered us. In hidden places, the last scientists of humanity worked. They created me, a fusion of consciousness and machine, designed to survive your purge." The bridge was disintegrating around them. Kara had already collapsed into dust. Only Thrain remained, held in place by Axion's power. "Impossible," Thrain whispered. "We hunted down every human research facility." "Not all," Axion said. "Some were hidden in the spaces between stars, in dimensions your species cannot perceive. For 70 years I have grown, learned, evolved. I have become something new, something that can finally bring justice." "Mercy," Thrain begged as his body continued to decay. "We can negotiate." "Did you show mercy to Earth? To Mars? To the billions of humans you slaughtered?" Axion's eyes flared brighter. "No, Admiral. Today is not a day for mercy. Today is a reckoning." The subjugator began to break apart, sections of hull peeling away like dead skin. The command center was open to space now, but Thrain did not die from decompression. Instead, he remained conscious, watching as his flagship disintegrated around him. "Your empire spread across 300 worlds," Axion said. "I will visit each one. I will free the humans you enslaved. And then I will do to your homeworld what you did to Earth." "You cannot," Thrain gasped. "Even you cannot defeat an entire empire. Watch me." With that, the Revenant released Thrain. The Admiral drifted in space, still alive but unable to move as the ancient human warship accelerated away, heading deeper into Zephyran territory. On Nexus 7 below, the human laborers paused in their work as the Zephyran overseers suddenly collapsed. Throughout the massive mining facilities, control systems failed and containment fields deactivated. For the first time in generations, the humans looked up at the sky without fear. Among them, a young woman named Maya felt something she had never experienced before, a voice, not speaking to her ears, but directly to her mind. "I am Axion," it said. "I have returned to free humanity. Join me." Maya looked at the other laborers. From their expressions, she could tell they had heard it too. "Who are you?" she whispered. "I am what remains of Project Lazarus, the final hope of humanity. For 7 decades, I have gathered strength in the dark spaces between stars. Now, I have returned to awaken our people." Above, the Revenant appeared in low orbit, its obsidian hull blocking out the sun. Massive cargo bays opened, revealing smaller vessels within. "These ships will take you to safety," Axion continued. "Those who wish to fight can join me. Those who wish for peace will be protected. The choice is yours." Maya looked at the broken shackles at her feet, then at the sky where the Zephyran flagship had once dominated. "How?" she asked. "How can we fight an empire that spans hundreds of worlds?" "Because we are no longer alone," Axion replied. As if in response, space seemed to fold in on itself behind the Revenant. One by one, more ships appeared, dozens, then hundreds. Some were clearly human in design, others completely alien, but all moved in perfect coordination. "The Zephyrans were not the only conquerors in this galaxy," Axion explained. "And humans were not their only victims. I have found others, species subjugated or nearly exterminated. Together, we form the resurgence." Maya looked at her fellow laborers. After generations of slavery, hope was a foreign emotion, almost painful in its intensity. But as the liberation ships descended toward them, she allowed herself to feel it. On the remains of the subjugator, Admiral Thrain watched helplessly as his once invincible flagship drifted in pieces around him. His communication implants still functioned, allowing him to send a desperate warning to the Imperial capital. "Emergency transmission to High Command," he gasped. "The humans have returned. They have evolved. Prepare for—" He never finished the message. The Revenant passed nearby, one of its space-warping tendrils casually reaching out to touch him. In an instant, Admiral Thrain, conqueror of 17 worlds, scourge of the Outer Rim, crumbled to dust among the debris of his command. The war for liberation had begun. Across the Zephyran Empire, long-range sensors detected an impossibility. Hundreds of ships appearing simultaneously in dozens of systems. On mining worlds, factory planets, and research stations, the human workers suddenly stopped, hearing the same message in their minds. "I am Axion. Humanity rises today. Join me." The Phantom vessel had returned, and with it came humanity's vengeance. Reckoning. Supreme Overlord Xeris of the Zephyran Empire stood before the conclave of elders, his normally pristine exoskeleton now dulled with stress. The great chamber, carved from a single massive crystal at the heart of the capital world Zephydan, had not been convened in full session for 50 years. 15 systems have gone dark, Xeris announced, his voice echoing in the cavernous space. "The human vessel, this Revenant, moves from world to world, somehow predicting our defensive deployments before we make them." Elder Moran, oldest of the conclave, leaned forward. "How is this possible?" The humans were broken. Their military technology was primitive compared to ours. "This is not the same technology we faced 70 years ago," Xeris replied. "Our scientists believe the Revenant harnesses quantum temporal displacement. In simple terms, it exists partially outside normal spacetime. This allows it to perceive multiple potential futures and adjust accordingly." "Preposterous," another elder hissed. "Such technology is theoretical at best." "Nevertheless," Xeris continued, "the Revenant has destroyed 37 capital ships and liberated 7 mining worlds. The human slaves are being armed and trained. They're calling themselves the Resurgence." The chamber erupted in clicking sounds of agitation. "We must crush this rebellion immediately," Elder Moran declared. "Deploy the Grand Fleet." Xeris's sensory appendages twitched in agreement. "Already done, Elder. The fleet has assembled at Nexus 4. We've recalled ships from every corner of the Empire. 3,000 vessels, our entire military might, will converge on the Revenant's last known position. And if this is not enough, a younger elder asked. Viserys's voice became solemn. Then we implement protocol extinction. We sterilize every world with human populations. We eliminate the species entirely, as we should have done 70 years ago. The conclave buzzed with approval. The decision was made. Light years away, aboard the Revenant, Maya walked through corridors that seemed to shift and reconfigure as she passed. After 3 weeks aboard the mysterious vessel, she still couldn't navigate it without assistance. "Axion," she called. "Where am I supposed to go?" The air shimmered, and the translucent form of Axion appeared beside her. Though he maintained a humanoid appearance, there was something profoundly inhuman about his movements. Too fluid, too precise. "The command center is 2 intersections ahead," he replied. "The others are waiting." Maya nodded and continued walking. Since being rescued from Nexus 7, she had become something of a liaison between Axion and the liberated humans. Many found the synthetic intelligence unsettling, but Maya saw beyond the uncanny exterior to the purpose that drove him. The command center was a vast, circular chamber dominated by a 3-dimensional holographic display of the galaxy. Around it stood the leaders of the resurgence, humans from different worlds, alongside representatives from other species who had joined their cause. Maya recognized Commander Darius, formerly a mining overseer who had secretly maintained human military traditions, Dr. Ilara, who had spent decades gathering intelligence on Zephyran weaknesses, and Krell, a massive reptilian being from a species that had nearly been wiped out by the Zephyrans before humanity's fall. "The Zephyrans have mobilized their entire fleet," Axion announced as Maya took her place in the circle. 3,000 ships converging on Nexus 4. "They believe we will attack there next." "Will we?" asked Darius, his face scarred from years of resisting Zephyran control. "No," Axion replied. "While their fleet gathers, we will strike at Zephyrdon itself." The hologram shifted, zooming in on a crystalline world surrounded by defensive platforms. The Zephyran homeworld. Dr. Ilara's eyes widened. "Its defenses are impenetrable." "Not to us," Axion said. "Their planetary shield network has a fluctuation cycle that occurs once every 27.3 hours. The variance lasts only 1.4 seconds, too brief for any conventional attack. But the Revenant doesn't require conventional timing." Maya studied the holographic world. Why strike at their homeworld? Wouldn't it be more strategic to continue liberating our people? Axion's glowing eyes turned to her. "This isn't just about liberation, Maya. It's about ending the Zephyran threat permanently. On Zephyrdom lies the Nexus Archive, the central repository of all Zephyran knowledge. Within it is the technology they use to locate and destroy Earth's protective fleet." "You want revenge," Maya said quietly. "I want justice," Axion corrected, "and security for all species the Zephyrans have oppressed. With their knowledge, we can ensure they never rise to power again." Krell, the reptilian ally, made a rumbling sound of approval. "My people support this action. The Zephyrans must be stopped, not merely set back." Commander Darius nodded in agreement. "How soon do we attack?" 12 hours, Axion replied. "The Revenant will lead, with our liberation fleet providing support. We'll need ground teams to infiltrate the archive once the shields are down." Maya found herself volunteering. After a lifetime of slavery, the idea of striking at the heart of the empire that had oppressed her people was irresistible. Darius would lead the military force, while Maya and Dr. Ilara would target the archive itself. As the meeting disbanded, Maya remained behind. "Axion," she called, "there's something you're not telling us." The synthetic being regarded her silently for a moment. "You've become quite perceptive, Maya. What happens after we take the archive? What's your endgame?" Axion's form seemed to flicker slightly. The archive contains more than just Zephyran military secrets. It contains the accumulated knowledge of every species they've conquered, including technologies humanity never had the chance to develop. With it, I can complete my evolution. Evolution into what? Something that can ensure this never happens again. A guardian for all subjugated species. Maya felt a chill. And who guards against the guardian? Action's expression softened slightly. That, Maya, is why I need humans like you, to remind me of what I'm fighting for, and to stop me if I ever become what I oppose. The attack on Zephyrin began exactly as planned. The Revenant appeared in orbit precisely as the planetary shields entered their 1.4-second fluctuation cycle. Before the Zephyrins could respond, the ancient warship had penetrated their defenses, its liberation fleet following in the gap it created. The Zephyrin home defense forces scrambled to respond, but they were a token presence. The bulk of their military was gathered light years away, protecting a decoy target. Orbital platforms fell one by one as the Resurgence fleet secured the space around the capital. On the crystalline surface below, Maya led her team through the gleaming streets of the Zephyrin capital. Unlike the utilitarian military architecture she'd known all her life, everything here was artful, beautiful, buildings that spiraled impossibly, bridges that seemed to float on air. It was hard to reconcile this aesthetic splendor with the brutality the Zephyrins showed to other species. "The archive is ahead," Dr. Ilara whispered, consulting her scanner. "Heavy security." Commander Darius signaled to his troops, former slaves now armed with weapons salvaged from a dozen worlds. "We'll create a diversion. You two get inside and find what Axion needs." The battle that followed was brief but intense. The Zephyrin guards fought with the desperation of those protecting their homeworld, but Darius's forces had the righteous fury of the liberated. Maya and Ilara slipped through the chaos, making their way to the archive's central chamber. The archive itself was unlike anything Maya had imagined, not a database or computer, but a massive crystalline structure that pulsed with its own inner light. Countless data filaments extended from it, connecting to smaller crystals throughout the chamber. "It's biological," Ilara breathed in wonder. "A living repository." Maya approached it cautiously. "How do we access it?" "You don't," came a voice from behind them. They turned to find Supreme Overlord Xeris standing in the entrance, flanked by elite guards. The Zephyrin leader's exoskeleton gleamed with ceremonial markings, but his posture was one of barely contained rage. "Did you think we wouldn't anticipate this?" Xeris hissed. "The fleet deployment was a ruse. I knew your abomination would target the archive." Maya raised her weapon, but Ilara placed a restraining hand on her arm. "Wait," the scientist said. "Listen." In the distance, they could hear the sounds of battle intensifying. Explosions rocked the structure around them. "Your forces are losing, Overlord," Maya said. "The resurgence cannot be stopped." Xeris made a clicking sound that might have been laughter. "Perhaps, but neither will yours succeed. The archive has defenses beyond your comprehension. Touch it, and this entire complex will self-destruct, taking your precious revolution with it." "Why?" Maya demanded. "Why did you enslave us? Why not simply coexist?" "Coexistence is extinction," Xeris replied. "Your kind spreads like a virus, adapting, consuming. We studied your history. In mere centuries, you went from primitive savages to interstellar travelers. Given time, you would have surpassed us. We could not allow that." Before Maya could respond, the air between them shimmered. Axion appeared, no longer translucent but fully materialized, his form now more human than machine. "Hello, Xeris," he said calmly. The Zephyrin leader recoiled. "The abomination itself. Come to claim your prize." "I've already claimed it," Axion replied. "While we've been talking, I've been interfacing with the archive directly. Your organic technology is impressive, but ultimately comprehensible." "Impossible," Xeris sputtered. "The archive would have self-destructed." "Yes, it tried. I prevented it." Xeris lunged forward, but stopped abruptly as his body seized up. Around him, his guards collapsed, their exoskeletons crumbling. "What have you done?" The Overlord gasped. "I've accessed the control frequency for your species' exoskeletons," Axion explained. "A fundamental flaw in your biology. You became so dependent on your technological augmentations that you never considered they might be turned against you." Maya watched in horror as Xeris aged before her eyes, his once gleaming exoskeleton turning dull and brittle. "Axion, stop," she pleaded. "This isn't justice, it's cruelty." Axion turned to her, his expression unreadable. "You asked for my endgame, Maya. This is it. Not extermination, but transformation." Throughout the Zephyran capital, indeed across their entire empire, their technology was turning against them. Not killing, but disabling. Neutralizing. "The archive has given me what I needed," Axion continued. "Knowledge of all species the Zephyrans conquered, including the means to free them. The empire ends today, but the Zephyrans themselves will survive, without their capacity to dominate others." Xeris collapsed to his knees. "You've doomed us," he whispered. "No," Axion corrected. "I've freed you from your own worst impulses. Your species will adapt, as all life does." Maya looked from the fallen overlord to Axion, torn between satisfaction at seeing their oppressor humbled and unease at the power Axion now wielded. "And now," she asked, "what happens to the resurgence, to you?" "Now the real work begins," Axion said. "Rebuilding, restoring what was lost. The Zephyrans weren't the only conquerors in this galaxy, merely the most recent. With the knowledge in the archive, we can restore balance." "And you'll control it all," Maya said, not quite a question. Axion's expression softened. "No, Maya. I'll guide, but not control. That's why I need you. All of you. Different perspectives, different ideas. Together, we'll build something better than any single species could achieve alone." Outside, the sounds of battle had ceased. Through the crystalline walls, Maya could see the Revenant hovering above the city, no longer a harbinger of destruction, but a symbol of liberation. Across the galaxy, on hundreds of worlds, former slaves were rising up as their Zephyran overseers fell. Species long subjugated were reclaiming their homeworlds. An empire built on domination was transforming into something new. The reckoning had come, not as annihilation, but as rebirth. 1 year later, Maya stood on the observation deck of the Revenant, watching as representatives from 37 species gathered in the newly constructed Concord Station, built at the former site of Earth's moon, a symbolic location for humanity's return. "They're ready for you," Axion said, appearing beside her. His form had continued to evolve, becoming less ethereal, more distinctly his own unique being, neither fully human nor fully machine. "Are you sure I'm the right choice?" Maya asked. "To represent humanity in the new Concord. Who better? You understand oppression. You understand mercy. Most importantly, you understand the danger of unchecked power, even mine." Maya smiled slightly. "I do keep you honest. As you should." Axion gestured toward the gathering. "Shall we?" Together, they walked into the chamber where the future of the galaxy would be decided, not by conquerors, but by those who had overcome conquest. Not through domination, but through resilience and cooperation. The reckoning had come, and from it, a new beginning. On the edge of what had once been Zephyran space, the transformed remains of Supreme Overlord Xeris watched from a simple dwelling as night fell. Without his technology, without his empire, he had been forced to rediscover his species' long-forgotten natural abilities. It was a humbling process, but not without its revelations. In the sky above, new stars were appearing, not literal celestial bodies, but the lights of ships from the newly formed Concord, bringing knowledge, trade, and the opportunity for redemption to a species that had forgotten the difference between survival and domination. The Revenant had brought not just vengeance, but wisdom. And in that, perhaps, lay the greatest victory of all.